Time for the current events update. I'm sure you can hear everything on there. Israel at war, 10/5/25. 80 days till Christmas. More importantly, we're 2 days away from the 2-year sad anniversary of what happened on October 7th, 2023. And we wait to see if Hamas will keep its word for the first time in its history. Yeah. A lot of people got their hopes up. Hamas means it when they say, they said, we'll go along with that, but there's some other things we're going to have to talk about. And they said from the beginning it was an all or nothing. So they better stick to it. That's all I got to say, because what Hamas wants to do is basically continue the parting the land policies of the past. But Donald Trump, President Trump, late Friday night actually, based on a statement just issued by Hamas, I believe they're ready for a lasting peace. Israel must immediately stop the bombing of Gaza so that we can get the hostages out safely and quickly. I'm all for that. Amen. Right now, it's far too dangerous to do that. We are already in discussions on details to be worked out. This is not about Gaza alone. This is about long-sought peace in the Middle East. Remember, Donald Trump is not a saved man, so he doesn't understand the Bible, but a lot of ignorant Christians don't understand it either. But Israel's playing along, as it must, to some extent at this point. They're just doing what's diplomatically smart. So then yesterday, about 24 hours after that statement, he said, after negotiations, Israel has agreed to the initial withdrawal line, which we have shown to and shared with Hamas. When Hamas confirms, the ceasefire will be immediately effective. The hostages and prisoner exchange will begin, and we will create the conditions for the next phase of withdrawal, which will bring us close to the end of this is ridiculous, but this is what he says. The end of this 3,000-year catastrophe. You know, Donald Trump is given to exaggeration. Also to misunderstanding when it comes to history and the Bible. But thank you for your attention to this matter, and stay tuned. Amen. So if you look at the Gaza Strip, the black line is what's considered the borders of Gaza, and what they're doing is they're trying to bring the IDF troops back to the yellow line. That will then hopefully allow them to release the hostages and so forth. And we'll, that's all window dressing. But the son of one of the founders of Hamas tells it like it is. Let's see. I didn't have the audio. It's a quote. His name is Mosab Hassan Yousef. His dad was one of the founders of Hamas. He says, quote, Palestine never existed. It is nothing but a violent ideology that was established as a hostile movement to annihilate the Jewish people from that land, end quote. It's a matter of fact. If you go back before 1948, there was no Palestine, no Palestinian state throughout history. They didn't want the land. It looked like the moon, and they didn't care about it. It was swamp land and desert land, uninhabitable practically. The mosquitoes were horrendous, and all the different diseases that they got, the people who tried to move there. So the Jews moved in, drained the swamps, irrigated the deserts, and it began to bloom like a flower, blossom like a flower. And all of a sudden, all these Muslims say, no, that's ours. And Robert Spencer says it well. Hamas is not ready for a lasting peace. Hamas will never be ready for a lasting peace. The Islamic theology of jihad will not allow for that, and the refusal to understand that in administration after administration has caused and is still causing immense damage. And to some extent, I agree with that. You do have to give the Trump administration credit for not being as bad as other administrations. But if the Trump administration provides opportunity but does not yield or compromise, then there will be no harm. In other words, they're putting the fig tree, the olive branches, I guess we'd say, out for peace, and they've got to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And but over and over, Hamas has denied any attempts. It goes back to 1948. You realize there was a two-state solution. Yep. Israel agreed and said, okay, we'll take what you're giving us, we'll move in there. The second state, which was supposed to be a Palestinian state, in addition to the third state in the solution they never mentioned, The whole nation of Jordan was created out of thin air. King Hussein was put on a fake throne. I mean, it never existed before. They just created out of thin air. All that land in Jordan was originally supposed to go to the Jews. Balfour Declaration and other statements and agreements after war, which is every other war has those agreements and everybody abides by them, but Israel's not supposed to. So then they whittled it down to what we think of today, but even the West Bank and Gaza Strip, they were giving that up. They said, okay, they can have it. Even Jerusalem, they can we won't take that. We have access to it. That's fine. That's good enough for us. Wasn't good enough for the Muslims. And all the Muslim Arabs around that area attacked Israel. And what we call Palestinians today, they were nothing but Arabs. And a lot of them were from Egypt and Lebanon and Syria, and they were not even permanent residents, a lot of them. They told them, get out, and after we destroy all the Jews, you can go back and have it all. That was the plan. They lost. Israel won that war. War for independence happened May and June of the 1948. That's the true history of it. But from that point on, over and over and over, they've offered this two-state solution stuff. They've said land for peace, and not once has the Muslim terrorists, no matter what name you put on, the PLO and Hezbollah and now Hamas, used to be Fatah, all these groups, not once did they ever actually stick to an agreement. They lied every single time without exception. And here we are again. In the meantime, Matt Gaetz, who's about half stupid, was interviewing a guy named Dinesh D'Souza. Some of you are familiar with him. And I don't agree with everything you hear from him. His theology's a little off here and there. But he's right on Israel. And in this interview, he lays out what he calls a threefold title deed to the land.
Well, what I would say, Matt, is this. You can get a country, if you look at the borders of countries around the world and how they got their land one of three ways. The first way is by being there all the time, right? By being there first. How did the Indians get India? Well, they've been there as far as we know. So original inhabitancy is one claim. The second claim is you get a country through negotiation. Someone kind of negotiates it out, like the UN basically decides after 1948, okay, we're going to have Israel, Palestine, we're going to partition it. And the third way is by conquest. So in the case of America, you have a dispute, right? Because the Native Americans were here first. They have the original inhabitants card, but then you could say that they were having wars against each other, taking each other's land, and the white man came and took it from them. So conquest is another way to establish title. But here's what I'm saying. The Jews have it all three ways. They were there first. They got it by negotiation. The UN gave it to them, and they've won every war, 1948, 1967, 1973, and now, of course, October 7th. So they are, whatever checkbox you want to use, Israel checks all the boxes. In the United States, there's a kind of a conflict, but in Israel, there's no conflict.
Amen. You do well to remember those points, and we do, and that's why we stand with Israel. Amen? In other headlines, another conspiracy theory has now been confirmed. Prime Minister Starmer is leading the UK into the arms of the beast.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that. Because decent, pragmatic, fair-minded people, they want us to tackle the issues that they see around them.
See, if you oppose it, you're not decent.
Right,
exactly. He's saying you have to have digital ID if you want to work in the United Kingdom. That's like telling you have to get a digital ID if you want to go to work. But there is a huge blowback for privacy rights. Not very many are taking a biblical view of it, but for privacy rights, there's a lot of this.
They don't want us to live like China, where it's a social credit system. Yeah, exactly. If you speak out against the authorities in China, you might not be able to travel on a train. If you want to protest, they stop your ability to use your card, get your benefits or get your pension. Yeah, at the end of the day, this was not in their manifesto. Yeah. The public is aware of the control mechanism that digital ID could bring about now. It's all over social media. Everyone I speak to is against this. This is coming from someone I thought that you should have ID to vote, a physical card. A physical card cannot stop you doing anything, but a digital platform linked to your benefits, your pension, and your social credit score is a digital prison for you in this society, and it does not belong in Britain.
Well,
I agree.
Did you hear Jessica was there? Did you hear that? So, in addition to protests online and on TV and on radio and all that, they're actually lighting up buildings all over London and other towns in the United Kingdom. And we'll show you a couple pictures. But there are 5 reasons to say no to digital ID. And in addition to the obvious fact that this is all going to be part of the beast system to come. But number 1 is loss of privacy. Every move, purchase, interaction could be logged and monitored. I got news for you. That's already going on to a large degree already. Most people, because of their phones, they've got everything connected to their phones and social media and everything. So it's already to a great degree being done. But the difference is right now that information isn't known to be in government hands, and the government isn't able to do anything with that as far as just shutting your bank accounts down and all that sort of thing yet. We already saw they were trying to start implementing it under the Biden communist administration. They already did it to a lot of people, but thankfully most of that's been reversed for the time being. Number 2 is centralized control. As I mentioned, whoever runs the system holds enormous power over your daily life. So if the government institutes this, then you'll see exactly what he mentioned, what's going on in China, where if they don't like something you post on your social media, then you can't spend money, you can't, and they'll contact your employer and dock your pay, whatever they want to do. They're doing it in some countries already. Number 3, the risk of data breaches. These huge databases are irresistible targets for hackers risking your identity, and the government has already proven to be incompetent in almost everything they do. So that's a big problem. Also, number 4 is exclusion. As I said, you get no ID, no access. Now, in addition to cutting you off if they don't like something you say on social media, they could just have rules like they did in COVID. If you didn't wear the mask, if you didn't have a vaccine card saying that you'd had the vaccine, they wouldn't let you in their business, wouldn't let you in churches even. And that was all just a nice little warm-up for this kind of thing. And the 5th is freedom erosion. Once digital ID becomes required, reversing it will be almost impossible. We've learned that. The idea of the income tax, it shouldn't be there. Property taxes, look how hard it is to try to reverse what they're doing with that. The Social Security system, and all these different things. And we'll come back to you at the end there. Hold your question there for a second. These are the pictures I was showing you, all over London, on different buildings. And look what it says, 1984. And that's a George Orwell fictional novel that the left has taken as a blueprint. It was supposed to be a warning. And so you see that all over. I can show you more, but I want to remind you, it's not the mark of the beast until it includes 666 and is taken as an act of allegiance to a false Christ who has confirmed the covenant with Israel mentioned in Daniel 9:27. So all this, people are freaking out, it's the mark of the beast. No, it's not, but it is taking us down that we're slouching toward the beast. The beast system is being put in place. But it won't be something you can do accidentally. It'll be a known act that you're doing. You basically are, it's going to be a time where everyone's going to surrender their citizenship of their country. You can imagine you having to go to a government office and no longer be a citizen of the United States. You're now going to be a citizen of whatever global government is instituted, whatever name he chooses to use for his global government when the Antichrist takes power. So that's a lot different than this, but we have our reasons for being against it. Now, we also want to remind you that it's stupid white liberal women that are destroying Western civilization. There are a lot of men, you'll see men doing things, but most of them are cuckolds, and they do what their wives tell them to do. They have to do what their wives tell them. And you're always in trouble, because a wife that would do that, 9 times out of 10, she's a godless, wicked woman, because a good Christian woman isn't going to usurp the authority of her husband. But we don't have those type of women here, because when they come in here and they try to do that with me, I tell them, you're not doing that. You don't like it, get out. Amen. And I wouldn't be married to somebody who did that. It's easy for me to say because she left the room, but I'm still telling you. Yeah. Yeah. You just, just trying to demonstrate biblical wisdom here.
Do you even know what Sharia law is?
I do. Let's take a look.
Feeding the poor, that's Sharia.
Owning women as sexual property, that's Sharia.
Smiling at someone, that's Sharia.
Jihadism and fighting non-Muslims, that's Sharia.
Being kind to your neighbor.
Unaliving homosexuals.
Education for every child.
Women being worth half as much as a man.
Women's right to work.
Women's right to be beaten by their husbands and to be forsaken in bed.
Marriage must be between 2 consenting adults.
Unless, of course, it's your Prophet Muhammad, police be upon him, because he married a 6-year-old.
Workers' right to fair pay.
Unless, of course, you aren't a Muslim, because then you will be taxed into poverty.
The current court system is derived from Sharia.
No, it's not. It's derived from the Roman court system, which came hundreds of years before.
Democracy is Sharia.
No, it actually came from Democritus, a Greek philosopher who came 1,000 years before. Democracy, Democritus, see how we got that name?
Hospitals have been built on Sharia law.
Okay, but the Catholic Church has built way more hospitals, and St. Basil the Great is often credited as building the first hospital. So why on earth would we choose Sharia law over Christianity?
We're already living under Sharia law.
No, we are not, because our women are allowed to go outside without covering themselves head to toe.
So what exactly are you fearing?
Let's see. Sharia law and the loss of Western culture. By the way, Muhammad is now the most common boy's name in England and Wales. God bless.
I'm telling you, and I could have showed you one of a dozen different videos with some blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman lecturing everybody on how wonderful Sharia law is. They are as stupid as any creature on earth. You don't hear anybody say anything dumber. And I just used that because this is some guy who randomly picked them off and just showed. She only talked about the positive things, totally ignored everything else to present a lie. She's full of the devil. You know, pretty women can be some of the most evil, wicked people you ever come across, folks. Yeah. And there's also some pretty women who love the Lord, but you better make sure it's one of them when you come across them. Amen. There's another. Federal Judge Karen J. Immergut blocks Trump from activating National Guard in Portland. Yeah. It's another stupid white liberal woman. They're all over the place.
Arrest someone for just being illegal, for having no papers.
When you cross the border illegally, it is a, yes it is. It's a federal offense.
No, it's not. Look it up. Google it. I would love to see it.
Another cute blonde telling you that it's not, you're not committing a crime if you're an illegal. You come into the country illegally, you're not committing a, look it up.
It says illegal right in the name.
It's just illegal. That's what that word means. They're all over the place, folks. Now, yeah, there's every race and both sexes, but I'm telling you that the most influential group are the white liberal women. This is another one. She admits this. She says, I've been carjacked in Chicago with my arm broken. I still don't want you or your troops here. She was carjacked. They broke her arm in the process of that crime. She still doesn't want anyone to come in and stop the criminals. See what I'm saying? Stupid white liberal women. There are a lot of stupid people of other races, both sexes, but it's the stupid, white, liberal women that are the biggest problem in this country right now. Oh, that's what the guy who posted that says, white liberal women are just as radicalized as ISIS. You gotta be careful now. White liberal women, that's what we're talking about. There are plenty who aren't liberal, plenty who aren't white. I didn't say all women. Just making that clear for all the knee-jerk Christian women out there. Every time I criticize a woman, I get an email. And it's just stupid. You've been brainwashed. Jesus Christ said the majority of women are stupid. Yeah. Jesus Christ said the majority of women are stupid. Yeah. And he also said the majority of men are stupid. Amen. But if you hear me say that and you get angry, you got a problem in your heart. You got a spiritual problem, woman. Because it's not just the stupid white liberal women, but there are a lot of so-called conservative women who are enablers. Because they've got this feminazi brainwashing from their public education and what they see in news and entertainment. And then a lot of men are squeaky little men afraid to ever say anything. We get back to biblical manhood and biblical womanhood, we'll see a change in this country. And it'll start when people stop quaking in their boots when someone says something bad about women. And that every man on TV and in the movies isn't some feckless boob who can't handle himself or he is effeminate. That's what all the men are like on TV and movies now. Why? Because the feminists and the sodomites control it. They control the scripts. They control what you see. And what you and I have to be smart enough to do is see it and know that we're being brainwashed. Right. Look at the sodomite, nasty thing they're going to put on at the Super Bowl this year. Turn it off. As long as you buy their slop, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse at the National Fruitball League. Look at how many of these are stupid white women. Not all of them, but most of them.
Trump lies, democracy dies. 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 Trump.
Those poor cops have to stand there and listen to that over and over and over. They hope they get double pay for that. Listen, they're not there because of Donald Trump. I'll give him credit when it's due, and when he says they're not after you, they're after me, that's actually wrong. They're after him because of me, because of you, because he has actually stood up against abortion, stood up against the sodomite cult, stood up against the Marxists, and stood up for Israel. That's why they're after him. Just like when people hate you, it's not because of you, it's because of who is in you. Amen. They hate Jesus, the biblical one. They like the one they make up in their imagination, but they hate the biblical one, and that's why they hate you. Amen. There's the liberal Barbie now on sale. I just thought it's 80 days out. You might be able to get one before Christmas for that someone special you want to. Yeah. Yeah. Hillary agrees with that message. She's a bobblehead. Oh, and this is what an increasing number of cops look like. That's a real cop. And how many of you paid attention to these cops who have been seen in these like mass shootings and everything? And you're like, man, if I had to rely on that to save my life, I might as well just shoot myself in the head. Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Swan, over there in England. But they're all over the place. Because they have, that's why Pete Hegseth, why they hate him, because he's saying, you know what, if you can't meet these standards, male or female, you shouldn't be in here, in the military or as a cop. But what they did was they lowered the standards so that all these people could become cops who shouldn't be. You remember the one, there was a black lady in LA who was lesbian, and she was saying, she's a firefighter. And she said, if you're wanting me to carry you out of a fire, you got yourself into that mess, or something like that. It's like, we shouldn't expect firefighters to be able to carry people out of fires. Because what's important is we have a black lesbian on the fire department. Be informed, pray and act accordingly. Amen?